One hammer down. A lovely pair of hands revealed in the cement. When the man was caught, told the truth without reservation. Turns out, he's the woman's brother, pretending to be her husband in order to kill his sister who had lost her memory, to cheat his sister out of a large sum of insurance money. Although the story seemed logical and reasonable, but the woman didn't believe him. She wanted to investigate the fake husband. She chose to remain silent. Just as she was about to go home, lost in thought, the little girl from before reappears. She went up to the girl and asked her name. Just then, a boy came up to her. It was the woman's name that was called out. When the woman heard it, she was instantly enlightened. She regained her lost memories. She did not have the ability to foresee death. This girl was her own self back then. Her fake husband was indeed her real brother. He was not with her for insurance purposes, but to protect her. And the girl who was bullied by the scarred man, she was also the one who was in college. What's incredible is that the scarred man was also her adoptive father. It's a good thing her brother noticed the violence that year. He was there to stop it, but he accidentally sent him to the northwest so that no one would find out. She packed him into a suitcase. That day she came to the construction site. What she saw was not that her husband had been thrown into a concrete pit, but a debtor forcing him to pay. He had no choice but to kill the debtor. He threw him into the concrete pit. The husband saw the woman who saw the scene. He was worried that she would expose him, so he beat her up and kicked her. She tried to save herself. She accidentally killed her husband with a blow. Her brother was worried that she would end up in jail, so he threw her husband into a concrete pit too. After realizing that everything had happened to her, the little girl in front of her disappeared in an instant. Her memory was completely restored. She thought a happy life was waiting for her, but when she returned home, her real husband, who had been buried alive in cement, appeared in the house in a strange way. It turns out that her husband didn't die when he was pushed into the concrete pit. He had been looking for revenge. Realizing that the woman had regained her memory, he smashed the woman's leg off directly, poured 800 pounds of gasoline on the house, setting fire to the unhappy home. Just as he was leaving, his brother suddenly came to the door. But just then, the husband had already killed himself, grabbed a knife and stabbed his brother in the body. By the time the police arrived, the house had been burnt to the ground, but the woman was unharmed. It turned out that at the very end of his life, the brother used his body to fight off the deadly fire for his sister. The woman had never dreamed that, in order to protect himself, he had spent his whole life. At the end of the story, the woman's husband is arrested by law. The woman's husband is arrested by the law, and she is sentenced to a prison term. This film tells us that life is very short. Please cherish the people in front of you in your limited life.